Dear brilliant minds, welcome back to another powerful episode of AIBiz. I'm your host Avik, and today we are stepping into the world where impact meets identity and where your story becomes your strongest strategy. So, dear listeners, let me ask you something. What does your brand say when you are not in the room? Right? That's what the brand should say. So is your message just a noise or it just uh, does it matter? And also, very importantly, do you feel aligned with the story that your brand tells? Those are the good questions, dear listeners. Do think and let us know what you also think about this. I'll be happy to share my perspectives and others' perspectives as well. But today's guest has built an empire by asking and answering those exact questions. Yes. And I'm really honored to welcome Adam Torres. So, welcome to the show, Adam.
Oh man, I'm so happy to be here. It's a great time and excited to talk to your audience, honestly. So thank you for having me.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'll quickly introduce you with Adam. So, Adam is the host of the Mission Matters podcast series, ranked in the top 2.5% of the podcast globally, with over 60,000 interviews under his belt. So, Adam is the co founder of Mission Matters, a powerhouse media and publishing agency amplifying the voices of entrepreneurs, entertainers, executives, and the experts. So, he's also best-selling author, international speaker, and a former financial advisor managing over 500,000 million in client assets. So, which drives him a mission to help others share their stories to inspire this generation and the next, obviously. So let's dive into the truth about branding, storytelling, and what it really takes to create a mission driven identity in a world that's begging for the authenticity. So, wait to wait. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Yes, let's do it. Let's get into it. I'm all about helping others build personal brands, and I'll tell you first off that working and building my personal brand, it's completely changed my life, and I'm happy to share that story with the audience.
That's amazing. Lovely. Would love to listen to that, definitely. So, so Adam, like to start with, your journey spans the financial services, authorship, podcasting, media entrepreneurship. So, how did storytelling become the centerpiece of your brand and the business?
Well, first thing is, I like to say that I didn't start off this way. I had no idea how important creating a personal brand was, or telling your story was, or even sharing it. So in the beginning, I remember my mentor. He told me that I had just started this new firm. I'd been in the business for many years, managing money. I managed a little under 200 million, and I was like, when I'm doing this, I started a new firm and he tells me, "Hey, Adam, you got to write a book." And I'm like, "I'm not writing a book. Like, that's silly. Like, why would I want to write a book? I manage, hundreds of millions of dollars." And I didn't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know. So I said, I actually had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I said, "Why would I launch a book? Like, books, people that write books are broke. Like, why would I want to sell a $5 product? Who cares?"
Yes.
And he's like, "You have to tell your story. Like, you have a unique story." And I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm not an athlete. I didn't do anything big. I mean, I just," and he's like, "No, your story can help others." So reluctantly, I wrote my first book, reluctantly. And things started to happen. Like, things changed. And and I found myself on speaking tours as far away as China and all these other opportunities coming my way. It all came from sharing my story in a book. Couldn't believe it.
Mm. Wow. And that's really amazing. From a book, it's wow. Like so,
Hmm.
and was there a moment when you realized that stories were more powerful than the statistics?
I think when I started getting feedback from
Mm,
people,
mm,
Like when you start getting when you're I think a lot of us like we maybe are sitting in our offices or we're sitting in our homes, maybe we work from home and we don't get out there and we don't talk to enough people, we don't share our story enough. But when I started getting feedback from people that that they resonated or that they related to my story, that's when it became interesting. I'm like, wow, wait a minute, this is different, this is new, and that's what led us originally to launching the podcast. Like once we started, which by the way, I didn't want to do that either. So that's the way my life works, man. They say do something. I'm like, no, I don't want to do. You want write a book? No, I don't want to write a book. And then the other co-founder of this company, his name's Chirac Cigar. He's like, hey, we need to start a podcast. I'm like, I don't want to start a podcast. We're trying to sell books. He's like, well, you can sell more books if you have a podcast. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And so that's when things got interesting because then I had the opportunity to tell my story and share my story with more people, more audience. And what happened is over time, like that audience feedback also became something that was super valuable and that ultimately led to what we're doing today. Like and that so that all that was all a piece of that though.
Understood. Got it. So, I mean, definitely it's a profound shift, like, especially in branding. Like, we often chase for the numbers, but somehow we forget that stories also create the connection. So, yeah, definitely. And like, you have interviewed over 6,000 people. So, what's the secret to kind of crafting a compelling personal brand in today's crowded digital landscape?
Authenticity is what I'll lead with on that one. Like I think sometimes people feel like they have to make things up. It's almost like, oh, what kind of content am I going to create or what am I going to be or what do I want to project? The best way to create a personal brand really is to figure out the things that make you unique. Figure out
Mhm.
things that are different, figure out things that you can create content around and go with your interests. Like go with interests both professional and personally and start there. And start there. Now, for myself, one of the things that I like doing is, and it kind of overlapped over time, was once I started to understand like the podcasting side of things, like it also became my hobby. It was my work, but it was my hobby too. I found myself thinking about it. I found myself talking about it even when I wasn't working. And it just became something. And then the podcast community, which you're a part of as well. I mean, to me, the podcast community is one of the best creator communities in the world. Like sometimes, like, and nothing against YouTube, nothing against Instagram, but maybe some of the other communities aren't always quite as friendly. If you're on YouTube, it could be brutal. I'm on YouTube, by the way, so I'm not saying I'm against any of these things and or Instagram. Ask Adam Torres is my Instagram handle. People can see that, and I'm obviously on YouTube on Instagram at Ask Adam Torres. But like those communities can be a little bit judgmental. I find that the podcasting community though, I find that it's always been warm, welcoming, and a real community. Like I still haven't met a podcaster I don't like, and I've met a lot of them. So I'm like I'm a fan of the podcasting side of things. And so when you're creating but getting back to your question though, in creating a personal brand,
Mhm.
maybe you don't like podcasting. Maybe you don't like to, you don't want to be in front of a camera. Maybe you prefer to write. Maybe you prefer to blog. Maybe you prefer to take pictures. Maybe you want to create other types of content. Lots of different ways.
True.
So lots of different things you can do, but the main thing is to make sure that you're authentic to yourself. If you don't want to be in front of camera, don't be in front of camera. It's okay. Maybe you're not ready. I like to share the story of when I was getting started. I was so scared in the beginning that I didn't even use my real name on the show.
Oh,
I
okay.
had like a I used a nickname because I was so scared, and that somebody would figure out that it was me. How silly does that sound, right? And then after I finally was willing to use my name and everything else, then I was so scared to be in front of camera that I did over 1,500 interviews before I did a video interview.
Okay.
Think about that. 1,500 because I was so scared. But on this whole journey, I was authentic to myself from the standpoint of I wasn't gonna, I didn't feel right doing it, so I didn't do it. and I started with audio only. And because of that, I feel that I grew into a content creator that could then do those other niches. And now I do plenty of video. Now I do on
Mhm.
stage. Now, I mean, I interview people in front of thousands of people, in front of audiences now. But that's like 9 years later. So
Mhm.
if you're listening to this and you're in a place where you're like, I want to build a personal brand, but I don't feel comfortable doing something, it's
Mhm.
okay. Like you can start where you're at. Remember, if you're listening to this and you're willing to use your name and you're willing to
Mhm.
even go on a Zoom, then you're already ahead of me. You're already ahead of where I started because I
Yeah.
wasn't willing to do either for years. So you're already ahead of me. So if I could do it, you could do it too. That's my message.
Very truly said. Wow. And okay, and like if I say that, is there a mistake that you see a lot of entrepreneurs or maybe uh, creators make when they're trying to market themselves?
Copying, copying.
Okay.
I can think about earlier in my personal branding journey.
Mhm.
My first, so this is like maybe 10 years ago. My
Mhm.
first attempt at this was a lot of the things, especially in the money space. And I leave this up there. So for if people want to see it and call me out, it's kind of funny, but I leave it up there on purpose because
Mhm.
I want people to see that even if you start off terrible like I did, you can be okay. So
Mhm.
I remember in the early days, let's say 10 years ago or so,
Mhm.
maybe, yeah, about 10 years ago it would be now. A lot of the like, yeah, I was in the money niche at that point, because remember I was
Mhm.
managing money, so like financial advisor space. I haven't, by the way, for everybody listening, I haven't been in that space now for like 9 years, so I don't hold licenses, I don't manage money, nothing like that. So don't call me for any of that. But
Yeah.
but a lot of the stuff there was kind of like very, I don't want to say flashy, but there's like money flying around and things like things that were very catchy on Facebook, let's say like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So I saw some things that some other brands were doing, and I was like, oh, that person's a financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor. It's working for them. Let me do what they're doing. And so I had a certain type of picture. My first book cover, Money Matters, which you'll see if you go on Amazon, you could see it, or if you go on my Instagram and ask Adam Torres, then you can scroll down and you'll see pictures of the book. Like you have to scroll pretty far down though, because this is years ago, but it's not too bad. But you'll see pictures of it, and there's like money behind me flying around, which when I look at it now, it makes me cringe. Like, oh, why did you do that?
Mhm.
Like, why did you do that? But then I think about it and I'm like, oh, that's what a lot of people were doing back then. And
Yeah.
initially, even though we did have success, I think about like how much more success could have been there and how much better we could have done, because in the beginning it was rocky. Like we didn't have a lot of traction on the brand. And it's probably because that brand didn't match me. It
Mhm.
didn't match me then. It doesn't match me now. So if you're out there just looking at like maybe even look at my content, and you're like, oh, it works for
Mhm.
Adam. Let me do what Adam's doing. Don't do that. Like be authentic to yourself and create something that speaks to you. I'm not saying you can't get ideas from other people, but don't
Mhm.
copy. Like when you copy it, just for whatever reason, I'm not going to claim I know exactly why, but what
Mhm.
works for somebody else doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for you. Everybody's on their own journey, and for whatever reason, I don't know why this is true either, but the audience can tell. They can tell if you're not being authentic or if you're BSing. Like they can tell. They can tell. I don't know how, but just like you can tell, I can tell when I look at something. I'm like,
Mhm.
that doesn't feel right. Like I don't know why it doesn't feel right, but it just doesn't. Then you could tell.
Exactly. I mean that's you can say about the psychology, right? I mean, to
Mm,
understand prior.
mm,
Mm, correct. And also like you are building a 100,000 piece content catalog across the podcasts, books, media. So what role does this consistency play in building a kind of long-term brand?
I like to think first thing is your
Mhm.
catalog. It's catalog mindset.
Okay.
So when I think about quantity, when I think about other things, musicians are pretty good at this, and especially if they've been around for a long time. But I feel like other professions,
Mhm.
it's not like just something that we talk about often.
Mhm.
So when I think about doing an episode or even this one right now, what we're doing together,
Mm,
like I'm adding to your catalog of content. That content can be looked at like, I don't have kids now, but if I do one day, they
mm,
may be listening to this episode. So your catalog, you may be getting views from this video in 20 years. Who knows?
mm,
10 years, 20 years, whatever. People might Google it, me and find this interview. So, and that's a record of our life, of our legacy, right?
mm,
So thinking about it, when you think about it that way, and you think about creating a catalog, just like your favorite musician, maybe
mm.
has their content catalog, which would be records, right? It'd
Yeah.
be their records or their catalog of music, I should say. That's the way I like to think of it. So when I think about that 100,000 mark that we've hit, and it's much more than that. I just don't like to put the real number because it just sounds crazy, but just for context, I'll do
Uh,
2,000 interviews this year.
mm,
Just this year, I've done over 6,000 interviews, and that's
mm,
going to continue. And so now, out of all of those pieces of content, obviously those get turned into reels, and we do posts and other things like that. So we're talking, tens of thousands of pieces of content, which add up to hundreds of thousands of pieces of content, which over
wow.
time add to a really strong personal brand
Mm,
so that when you Google or when you look up or when you figure it out, like you should be able to find out who I was, what I am, and what I stand for. So let's say that somebody's looking to hire me. One of the things that a big
mm,
piece of my business and what I do is I cover conferences and events for meeting planners and for conference organizers. So I'll go to the conference, I'll do a bunch of interviews, we'll create a bunch of content, and I get paid for doing that, and I get paid well for doing that. So if a conference organizer is thinking about, hey, do we want to hire Adam to come out, and they do a simple Google search for me,
mhm.
they're going to see the type of content they get. They're going to see our reach. They're going to say, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, can we book him? Is he already booked in our dates? Let's get
Right.
on this. So if you have a product or a message that you want to get out there, or this is a good way to think about it when you're creating a catalog. The
Mm,
larger the catalog, the quantity, the quality of the catalog, like all those things matter.
mm. Wow. So like, wow. I mean, um, good. I mean, I mean, I'm getting a lot of directions from here. So,
Well, I hope.
yeah, lovely. And also like, you help amplify stories that matter. So for someone who is listening, who feels invisible, uh, or maybe unsure of like what they stand for, then what's the first step to discovering their authentic brand voice?
Yeah. When it comes to a brand voice, I think this evolves over
Mm,
time. Like if you were to ask me, I'll share a story and an example.
mm,
So if you were to ask me, a year ago or
mm,
2 years ago, like why I do what I do,
yeah.
like why does Adam want to interview people? I would have said things like, well, to help amplify your message, which is something that we
Mm,
still do, to get your story out so you could help other people,
mm,
to be able to sell more of your products, to get your
mm,
brand out there, to be able to get visibility, to be able to have social proof. Like those would have been my answers.
mm,
Now as I've evolved, so unfortunately, last year I lost my mom, and when I lost my mom, it was pretty sudden. Of all things, a tornado, like really. So she
mm,
passed in a tornado. So and it was kind of like a freak thing. It was
yeah.
very unexpected. And, when I look back at that experience and I look back after and I look up and I'm thinking about my life, the thing that I value the most right now are
Mm,
in terms of that is the podcast episodes I did with my mom.
mm,
So I interviewed her 3 times. I brought her on the show, and I get to listen to those. And I don't have kids yet, but if I do one day, they get to listen to
mm,
their grandma on those podcast episodes and to see a bit of her life. So now, I'm still very young, but I
mm,
think a lot more about legacy. Like us collaborating today, like it's
mm,
now a lot of my brand voice and why I do what I do has to do with legacy and trying to be of service and thinking about how us creating content together intertwines our legacies
mm,
together. And so when I think about brand voice, I know that you'll have a starting point of where you're at, But don't worry, like it's going to evolve over time as you evolve as a person and as a human, as life happens to you. Even our original company and the original name was called Money Matters because I was a financial advisor and I was managing money. It moved on to Mission Matters as I evolved through life and I became more mission oriented versus money oriented. Not saying I still don't like money. Hey, you got a check, you want to hire me. Hey, and I have a service. You write that check, right? We accept money. I'm not saying we don't want money, but we're still open for business, baby. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that it didn't become the number one priority anymore. Like mission really did overtake it. Now as I evolve, through life, even though I'm young still, now I'm thinking even more about it in the context of legacy, and that's taken on more degrees and more complexion. So when it comes to finding your brand voice, look back at some of the themes that we looked at today, which are, leading with your story. So not making something up, but actually thinking about your story and what makes you unique. And it doesn't have to be, again, you won a championship or you're an athlete or you're this. It might be you're a single mom out there and you're raising a kid. It might be that you come from a broken home, maybe, or a single parent household, and you had a rough time growing up. It might be that you didn't come from a place that was maybe the socioeconomically, or you didn't come from, money or whatever. Or it might be that you came from money and that led to some things that weren't maybe the best. Like everyone has their own story, and if you tell that authentically, there are other people out there that can relate to that story and can benefit from it. So if you're leading with story, and then if you're adding the type of content channels that you feel are authentic and appropriate to you, so circling back to what we talked about, is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be writing? Is it going to be video, not video? Like you figure that piece of it out. And then when you do that, then just understand that you're going to have a starting point and you're going to get better in the future. Like no matter what, I don't care how good you are right now. I don't care how, like myself, like I think about it this way. I'm at 6,000 interviews right now, over 6,000. In 10 years, I'll be at another 20,000 interviews. Do I think that Adam Torres in 10 years with, almost 30,000 interviews is going to be better than Adam Torres today with only a little over 6,000 interviews? I'm going to go with yes. So if you know already that you're going to be better in the future than you are now, then don't sweat it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just make sure that you're consistent and that you're executing.
Exactly. Wow. Ooh, that's amazing. So lovely. And that's really powerful. I mean, we all have something worth sharing, and sometimes a story that we are scared to tell is actually the one the world needs to hear most. So, um, thank you so much for giving people permission to show off fully, Adam. So, uh, that's really great. And for everyone who is listening, like I'd love to say that your story matters, definitely your mission matters, uh, but none of it will come. I mean, will land like or come. You can say like if you stay silent or try to blend in. So just start today, as like Adam said, just started. And you can definitely connect with Adam at missionmatters.com and check out his incredible podcast series, books, and media content to get inspired and elevate your brand from the inside out. And apart from that, Adam, like if someone wants to connect with you, what would be the best medium?
I tell people, I keep it simple. Go to Instagram, ask Adam Torres on Instagram. And if you have a book idea, if you have a podcast you want to launch, if you got a podcast that you already have and you want me to check it out or you want me to come on the
Mhm.
show or anything like that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. Ask Adam Torres. Love to connect.
Sure. Perfect. Perfect. Lovely. Great. So, dear listeners, I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, until next time, this is your host, Avik, reminding you that uh, when your message aligns with your mission, your mind stays healthy and your life uh, becomes magnetic. So, take care and keep shining. Thank you so much.